My name is Elena Vargas. At 35 years old, I take great pride in being meticulous and organized. I work as an auditor for a large corporation. My keen eye for detail serves me well both professionally and personally. My friends often tease me for my enthusiasm about organization, especially when it comes to financial matters like keeping receipts and paying taxes on time. But for me, these habits are essential to maintaining order in my life. Now let me share the story of how I met my husband Theodore. It happened at a gathering organized by our mutual friend Victoria. That evening I enjoyed some wine and good conversation with old university friends. Then Theodore arrived. He was a little older, exuded confidence and wore a charismatic smile. He worked as a manager at a food sales company. "Hello, I'm Theodore. Mind if I join you?" he asked, holding a beer and looking straight into my eyes. "Of course. I'm Elena. Nice to meet you," I replied with a smile. We got along immediately, finding common ground like our love for hiking and classic rock. A few months after we started dating, Theodore invited me to a barbecue at his sister Valeria's house. It was the first time I met his family. Although Valeria welcomed us warmly, her children were quite mischievous. They ran around everywhere shouting and throwing toys. Despite my discomfort with the chaos, the evening turned out memorable. Theodore seemed relaxed and amused by the children's energy. As our relationship grew more serious, Theodore proposed to me during a scenic hike. It was a simple but perfect moment at the top of a hill with a breathtaking view of the valley. Our wedding was beautiful, though not without challenges, especially because Valeria's children continued being as mischievous as ever. Theodore found their antics amusing while I struggled to keep my frustration silent. After we got married, we decided it was time to buy our own house. One night in our rented apartment, we sat down to discuss our finances. We were excited to begin this new and thrilling chapter together. With our shared love for organization and adventure, I felt hopeful about our future despite the occasional challenges his family might bring. As Theodore and I adapted to the reality of buying a new house, we found ourselves navigating the practical aspects of merging our lives more completely. "Elena, we need to figure out how to divide the expenses," Theodore said one night, reclining on the sofa in our apartment. "Yes, I've been thinking about that too," I responded thoughtfully. "I can take care of buying the furniture, the appliances, and some pieces of art for decoration." "And you, Theodore, what if I buy you a new car?" I offered with a considerate smile. "I know your old car has been a hassle." The idea delighted me. My car was on its last legs, and the thought of a reliable replacement was more than welcome. We threw ourselves into the house search with enthusiasm, and after several weeks we fell in love with a charming home. Although it was a bit expensive, we decided it was worth the investment. Moving was chaotic, but decorating our new space was an exciting effort. For me, I dedicated many hours to selecting elegant, high-quality furniture and appliances. Soon after settling in, Theodore surprised me with a sleek, shiny new sedan. "Theodore, this is incredible. Thank you so much," I exclaimed, overwhelmed with gratitude as I hugged him. Life in our new home began wonderfully. We both thrived in our jobs and enjoyed the cozy atmosphere we had created. However, not everything was perfect. Theodore's relaxed attitude, which at first seemed charming, began to irritate me, especially when it came to household responsibilities. One night after a long day, I asked him to help with the dishes. Elena, I had a tough day. Can I do it tomorrow?" he responded, looking at me with pleading eyes. But I insisted on keeping our house clean, and he reluctantly agreed to help. A few months into our marriage, I began to worry about not being able to get pregnant. It was an additional stressful factor, and despite the doctor's advice to be patient, it was hard not to feel anxious. To complicate things, Theodore's sister Valeria, who lived in a neighboring state, visited us frequently. Every time she came, she brought chaos with her, unloading her marital problems on me non-stop. "Elena, you won't believe what David did this time," she would say, clearly frustrated. I tried to change the subject, hoping to escape the constant drama, but Valeria insisted on venting. Her children were equally mischievous. Their visits turned our house into a circus. They ran everywhere, fought with each other, and made a lot of noise. After a heavy work week, all I wanted was a little peace, but that seemed impossible with the chaos they brought. "Boys, please calm down," I would plead, trying to restore some order. "Why are you always so tense, Elena?" Valeria would reply sharply, increasing the tension. Amid these challenges, Theodore and I continued navigating our life together, balancing the joys of our new home with the complexities of family dynamics. Despite the occasional tensions, our foundation remained strong, built on love, shared dreams, and an ever-deepening commitment. Every time I tried to make Valeria's children behave, I pleaded for a little order, but when I asked him to stop the mess, Valeria simply replied, "Well, maybe if you had children you would understand." Her words struck me deeply, not only because they were harsh, but because she knew about my struggles with fertility. I felt it was a direct attack, and I was surprised that Theodore remained silent. "Theodore, are you going to let her talk to me like that?" I asked with a trembling voice full of anger and pain. To my dismay, Theodore dismissed my concerns. "Calm down, Elena. You're making a big deal out of nothing," he said, once again taking Valeria's side. "It's not nothing. She insulted me in our own house," I exclaimed as tears began to form. I was at my breaking point. I felt tired of being disrespected in my own home and of my husband always siding with his sister. I knew something had to change. That Saturday, Valeria arrived unexpectedly with her children and said she needed a break because she was going shopping. "Fine, but make it quick," I said. The stress was evident in my tone. She thanked me and rushed out, leaving me with the children and a growing sense of dread. I was in the kitchen trying to prepare dinner, a task I prefer to do calmly and meticulously. But with the children causing chaos, it was impossible to concentrate. They were shouting, running, and generally wreaking havoc. "Lower your voices," I shouted from the kitchen, hoping for a moment of peace. They ignored me. Shortly afterward, a loud crash in the living room made me run there. Among the debris lay my grandfather's antique Chinese vase, shattered into pieces. My heart sank at the sight of the damage. "What on earth happened here?" I demanded, my voice trembling as I looked at the children. Guilt was written on their faces. "We were just playing," one murmured, avoiding my gaze. "This vase is priceless. It belonged to my grandfather. Do you have any idea what you've done?" I was furious. My whole body shook with anger. Just then Theodore walked in with his calm demeanor, unaware of what was happening. "What's going on?" he asked. I pointed to the broken vase. "Your nephews just broke my grandfather's vase. Look at this mess." Theodore's response only made me angrier. "Calm down, Elena. It's just a vase. We can replace it," he said, dismissing my feelings. "It's not just the vase, Theodore. It's about respect. I'm tired of this. Every time Valeria comes, our house turns into a disaster zone, and you don't even seem to care," I shouted, my voice breaking with frustration. Valeria entered at that moment with shopping bags in hand and seemed annoyed by the commotion. "What's all this shouting about?" she asked. I pointed to the remains of the vase on the floor. "Your children broke my grandfather's vase. Look at this mess." Instead of apologizing, she replied, "Well, maybe you should have watched them better." "Are you kidding? They're your children. I shouldn't have to be watching them," I responded angrily. Theodore just shook his head, looking annoyed. "You're exaggerating, Elena. Let it go," he said. I was fed up with being told I was exaggerating. I had had enough. I was tired of being treated as if I didn't matter in my own home. "Enough. I'm tired of this," I said finally. The lack of respect had become unbearable, and I knew that for the sake of my dignity and happiness something had to change. Tears spilled as I argued with Theodore. He just stood there silent and impassive while Valeria wore a smile that seemed to declare victory. Overwhelmed by a mix of anger, pain, and betrayal, I stormed out of the room. I had dealt with the chaos of Valeria's visits and her children for months, but I was not prepared for what came next. One morning, while Theodore was sitting calmly eating his toast at the kitchen table, he dropped a bomb with as much indifference as if he were commenting on the weather. "Elena, I need to tell you something. Valeria is getting divorced and she's moving in with us along with the children for a few months," Theodore said. I almost dropped my coffee. Seriously, our house is already chaos when they visit for a day. How are we supposed to handle them living here for months? I asked incredulously. "She's my sister, Elena. She needs our help. You need to be more understanding," he replied, looking at me as if I were being unreasonable. "Understanding? I've done nothing but be accommodating, but this is too much. Why can't we rent her a place nearby? I'll even pay the first month's rent," I suggested, trying to stay calm. "She'll be better here. Besides, you can help with the children and keep things clean," he stated as if it were the most obvious solution. "I'm not a nanny, Theodore. I also work and I need to relax when I get home," I argued, feeling my frustration rising. "Stop being so selfish, Elena. It's family. They need us," he responded, growing more annoyed. "I'm not being selfish, Theodore. I'm just asking for a reasonable solution. I'm not going to let my life be turned upside down," I replied. "Well, they're coming tomorrow night, so you'd better get used to the idea," he declared, standing up and leaving the kitchen. I was blinded by rage and felt completely betrayed. The next morning, still furious from our argument, I got dressed for work and went to look for my car keys, but they were nowhere to be found. When I called Theodore, his voice sounded calm. I took the car. It's mine, remember? I'm going to give it to Valeria so she can use it for the children. He told me. You're giving my car to Valeria? Seriously? I was stunned. It's not your car, Elena. I paid for it and she needs it more than you do. He responded with total naturalness. That was the last straw. Theodore, you've taken everything from me. I shouted, my voice trembling with anger. What are you talking about? Don't be dramatic, Elena, he replied. He clearly did not understand the depth of my feelings. I stood in the hallway holding my phone and everything felt like a nightmare I could not wake up from. Given how things were going, I decided to call a moving company. Hello, I need a team to move some furniture and appliances. It's urgent, I said. I requested the movers arrive a few hours later and I directed them around the house, pointing out the items they needed to move. I took everything: the beds, the sofas, the chandeliers, even the bathroom faucets. As the house began to empty, I felt a strange sense of relief watching each piece being carried away. I had him taken to my mother's house, ready to begin a new life free from the turmoil Theodore had caused. With the house now empty, I tipped the movers, thanking them for their quick work. I gathered my essential belongings and left for my mother's house. Within a few hours, my phone began ringing non-stop. It was Theodore calling, but I ignored the calls, feeling a mix of anxiety and newly discovered empowerment. That night, there was a loud knock on the door of my mother's house. I opened it and there stood Theodore with a furious expression. What the hell, Elena? What did you do? He shouted as he entered the living room. I took my things, Theodore. You took the car, so I took what I bought, I replied, maintaining my calm. This is crazy. You stripped the house. Where are Valeria and the children supposed to sleep? He yelled, his face red with anger. That's your problem, Theodore. You caused this mess. Now deal with it, I responded, crossing my arms. You're a thief, Elena. You stole everything, he accused, gesturing violently. I didn't steal anything. Here are the receipts, I said calmly, pulling out a folder and showing him the purchase proofs for all the furniture and appliances. He quickly reviewed the receipts and his anger turned to frustration. Fine, Elena. If this is how you want to play it, I'm filing for divorce, he said, breathing heavily. I took a deep breath and handed him a stack of papers. Here are the divorce papers. Sign them and we're done, I said. He looked at the papers and his face paled. You're really serious about this? He asked. I deserve better than this, I affirmed, feeling a strange calm wash over me. From his pocket, he signed the papers without saying another word and handed them back to me. Fine, Elena. Have it your way, he said as he turned and walked out of my mother's house. The door slammed shut behind him. I stood there for a moment, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. It was over, and deep down I knew it was the right decision. That night I sat with my mother and told her everything that had happened. She supported me greatly and agreed that I had made the right choice. Elena, you've been through so much. It's time for you to focus on yourself and your happiness, she told me, giving me a comforting hug. I hugged her back. Thank you, Mom. I just need some time to sort things out, I replied, feeling as if a huge weight had been lifted from my shoulders. In the following days, I began to adapt to a new routine, organizing my new space at my mother's house and planning my next steps. It was a new beginning, and for the first time in a long while I felt hopeful about the future. I knew the path ahead would not be easy, but I was ready to face it head on. I had reclaimed my life and there was no turning back. After the divorce, Theodore and I sold our house and divided the proceeds. I decided it was time to find my own space. One afternoon, while sitting in the kitchen with my mother, I browsed apartment listings on my laptop. Mom, I think I found a place that looks perfect. It's a small apartment in the city center close to work, I said, showing her the photos. She leaned over my shoulder and smiled. That looks good, Elena. Have you called the real estate agent yet? Not yet, I replied, but I'm ready to take the next step in building my new life. All right, I'll do it now, I told myself, feeling a tingle of excitement in my stomach. I picked up my phone, dialed the number and waited anxiously to hear from the agent. After a few rings, a warm voice greeted me. Hello, this is Ethan. How can I help you today? Hello, Ethan. My name is Elena. I saw your listing for the apartment in the center. Is it still available? I asked, crossing my fingers under the table. Yes, it's still on the market. Would you like to come see it? Ethan responded in a hopeful tone. Perfect. How about tomorrow afternoon? I tried to keep my voice steady. That works for me. See you at 4 o'clock. Ethan confirmed the appointment. We ended the call, and the next day I was in the city center ready to meet Ethan and view the apartment. I was waiting outside the building when I saw Ethan with his welcoming smile. Hello, Elena. It's a pleasure to meet you. Let me give you a tour, he said, offering a handshake. The apartment was charming, compact yet cozy, with a neat kitchen, a spacious living area, and a small balcony offering a beautiful view of the city skyline. "This place is ideal, Ethan. I'll take it," I said, feeling a wave of relief as I signed the lease and received the keys. I began planning my move. The following days were a whirlwind of packing at my mother's house and coordinating with the movers for the heavy work. On moving day, my mother and some friends were there to help. As we loaded the last box into the truck, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves about starting something new. "Elena, this is a wonderful new beginning for you," my mother said, giving me a comforting hug. "Thank you, Mom. I'm looking forward to making this place my own," I replied with a smile. We drove to my new apartment, and with everyone's help we unpacked and arranged everything quickly. As I looked around my new home, I felt proud and content. It was the start of something new, and I was ready to celebrate it. That night I invited my mother and my friends over for dinner. We sat on the floor among the boxes, eating pizza and laughing. To Elena and her new adventure, my friend Victoria toasted, raising her soda. "Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate all the support," I said. I was grateful for their help. As the night progressed, we shared stories, laughed, and for the first time in a long while I felt genuinely happy. Later, sitting on my balcony looking at the city lights, I reflected on my journey and how far I had come. I was proud of myself for taking control of my life. I had heard through friends that Theodore, my ex-husband, had bought a small apartment with part of our joint funds. Now he lived there with Valeria and her 3 children, working 3 jobs to keep up with the expenses while struggling with constant disagreements. One day, unexpectedly, Theodore called me. Seeing his name on my phone screen surprised me, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello, Theodore. What's going on?" I asked in a neutral tone. "Elena, please just listen," he began with a desperate voice. "I know I was wrong, and I'm so sorry for everything." As I listened, I realized how much I had grown and how different my life was now, full of new beginnings and positive steps forward. I didn't realize the extent of it until now. Seeing Valeria's children, I couldn't help but laugh a little. "Really, Theodore? It took you all this time to realize?" I asked incredulously. "I know it's late, but I'm sincere. I've spent a lot of time reflecting, and I miss you. I miss us. Can we start over?" he explained in a serious voice. "I'm willing to move into your place and fix things." I laughed and shook my head. "No, Theodore, you can't be serious. Do you think you can come back into my life as if nothing happened?" "Elena, I'm serious. I'll do whatever it takes, even take extra work to make amends," he continued with desperation in his tone. "Theodore, I've moved on. Now I'm happy, and I'm not looking to go back to that chaos," I responded firmly. "Elena, we can make it work this time. I've changed," he insisted. I looked at him, feeling pity and irritation. "Theodore, it's over. You need to focus on your own life and your family. I'm not interested in returning to that chaos. Elena, please, I beg you," he pleaded, his voice breaking. "Theodore, the first found peace without you. I'm not going to sacrifice that," I affirmed, staying firm. "Take care. I hope you find your way." As I hung up the phone, I felt a mix of relief and determination. It was clear Theodore was going through difficult times, but I could not let his problems drag me back into a situation I had escaped with so much effort. Later that day, I met Victoria for coffee and told her the news. "You're not going to believe who called me today," I said, rolling my eyes. "Who?" Victoria asked, raising an eyebrow. "Theodore begged me to take him back and let him move into my apartment," I told her, shaking my head. Victoria burst out laughing, almost choking on her coffee. "Seriously? And what did you say?" I told him no, of course. "I'm not going back to that mess," I replied, smiling. We spent the afternoon chatting and laughing, and I was impressed by how much I had progressed. I had created a new life for myself, a life of peace and satisfaction. I was determined not to let anyone disrupt it. As I walked home, a deep sense of satisfaction and closure washed over me. I had finally turned the page on that chapter of my life, ready to move forward with confidence and happiness. Thank you for listening to today's story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next story.